doing excellent. Beautiful day.
So how does it feel to get rid of that interim name?
It seems kind of like business as usual, but on the flip side, it's actually kind of definitely a relief because you feel it's a little more ownership. It's our program, and we can go forward without being a little more tentative and not sharing who the successor might be. So it's actually quite a relief, and I think a relief on my part for sure, as well as the rest of the fire department staff.
The Fire Department of Billings is such a great organization, many great men and women that work for you guys over there. Let's talk about some of the things that you can see on the horizon coming up. Do you think we're going to see a new fire station in Billings?
Well, we're hoping. So we actually had a third-party consultant last year that came in and did an evaluation on the fire department, current services, station, and staffing studies. Did comparisons to regional departments, state, regional, and national departments to kind of see, get a snapshot of where we're at today, and then based on growth patterns and the coverage area that we have, what we need to do to provide the maximum coverage and the lowest response time possible. So really, Scott, based on that, what we call a long-range master plan, you'll be hearing more about that in the future, the LRMP, as we use the acronym in this world of acronyms. We'll be using that as our guide to go to the next level of creating a strategic plan for presentation to the mayor and city council for their consideration how we will go forward from this point based on three options that we were presented with, particularly with station placement, which relates to staffing as well.
I was watching a rerun, not the best of, but a rerun of the city council meeting. I have a boring life, so, just kind of take that into accord there. But I thought this was really neat. I was talking with Mayor Bill Cole about this yesterday when I had him on, about how the city of Billings, when a vehicle gets to be a certain age, it's retired, but there's all this different criteria. Let's talk a little bit about that with the fire department, because you guys have some massive trucks out there. And what was it, about 2 years ago that you guys got this, it was like $900,000 ladder truck or something like that?
Yeah, that's correct. It was actually worth about 1.1 to 1.2. We were able to go into a process to try to get what we called an already designed one, which really brought the cost down substantially to about $918. But the city of Billings, city administration, we are so fortunate here in terms of they have what they call an equipment rotation plan, and this ERP is designed such as to every department contributes X amount of dollars into this fund on an annual basis, and then we have this program that's reevaluated each and every year, so that when we do have those needs, and we have 2 fire trucks, 2 fire engines that we need to replace this next year, that funding is actually available for us. So it's not a matter of having to consistently go to the public and say, oh my gosh, here's our needs, where our fire trucks are 105,000 miles on them, and they're tired, and so it provides a funding source, a well-planned funding source, to be able to finance fire trucks, police cars, public works vehicles. I think it's an excellent program.
So what happens to these fire trucks after they're retired? Do you guys just kind of keep them in a corner for a spare, or do you try and sell them out? What's the deal?
Well, what we do is we try to do a rotational thing. So we'll take, we'll say if we put a new fire truck into service, then we'll take the truck it's replacing. Depending on conditions, there's some variables there, and we will actually move that into what we call reserve status, because our trucks are always having to go in for maintenance, preventative maintenance, repairs. We have additional calls that we have to have call-in crews or need additional apparatus. So we push these back into reserve status for a few years, and then so we get the ultimate bang for the buck, so to speak, so we can utilize them. And then at that particular point in time, then the next group of trucks might come in, and then we'll rotate those out. At that point in time, quite frankly, Scott, the salvage, the value on those, it's minimal, and then we will actually go up for through city policy, through an actual process in order to sell those to other departments that may be able to use them. So we do use them frontline, then back into reserve, and then at the end of that then we're basically out the door.
Go back a couple months here. Let's look at the number of calls in 2017 compared to 2016. Up, down, about the same?
We went up, and I think we were up about 2 to 3%. So we did exceed the 14,000 mark in 2017. So that's kind of was a benchmark that I guess a few years ago I guess we wouldn't have felt that we would be there, but it's there and it continues to climb in calls for service.
And I think one of the big misconceptions out of this is all the time when these fire trucks go out of the fire stations, it's not to go to a fire and process. It's sometimes to give medical aid to folks that are having a little trouble.
Yeah, that's very true and a very good point, Scott. We had, like, for example, last year about 100 actual structure fires, which seems low when you compare that to 14,000. But we're kind of, you see a lot of fire departments actually going to rather than fire department, to I call it the fire rescue model, because fire is a big piece of ours that we have to be prepared for. That's our primary mission. EMS and being able to get there quicker and provide great care to our citizens and visitors the largest number of our call volume. But we also have so many other things I don't think the public's really aware of. We have a special operations, a hazardous material team that is just unbelievable. It's was funded, or we had some funding assistance through the state until last budget session, and that based on budget restraints kind of went away. But we also do rope rescue, and you hear the RIMS calls like off of rope rescue, rappelling off the rims for rescue, for recovery, things like that. That's the Billings Fire Department. Our extrication, when you have these horrific crashes where we have to literally extricate, use airbags. We have a rescue unit that deals with all of that. Swift water rescue, confined space rescue, things you wouldn't think about if you have a trench that falls in on some folks that are working on lines, underground lines or something. Structural collapse. We have a number of other areas that we call low frequency, high risk, which don't happen a lot, but we have to be prepared to deal with those. So there's a lot of, and with that comes a lot of training associated with those various disciplines. But those are the very same men and women of the fire department that are your day-to-day on your engine companies. They're just collateral duties that they've taken on. So how important is it to the Billings Fire Department education, especially to our kids out there? That's an area that was identified that we are trying to improve on. We haven't had an actual, I'll call it a permanent position assigned to our Fire Prevention Bureau for over 30 years. So public education and trying to get back into the schools more, as well as we're going to expand that a little more to what I'm going to call safety education. We're going to work very hard. We made a temporary assignment into the Fire Prevention Bureau. We are making a request for another position that we can dedicate solely to public education, because it's hard to quantify what we're preventing, but we really need, and it's been again documented through this study, that we need to get back out there in the public, in the schools, and do our very best to say let's prevent these things.